We have stood on a plague island in Italy. Tonight we travel much further, to the dry golden hills of Rajasthan, in the north of India, and to a ruined stone city that carries a very strange distinction. It is widely called the most haunted place in all of India, and it is one of the very few haunted places in the world where the government itself has put up a sign at the gate, forbidding anyone to enter after dark. Its name is Bhangarh. Come close to the fire. Bhangarh is not a single house. It is a whole abandoned city. A great fort built into the foot of the Aravalli Hills in the 17th century, with palaces and market streets, and temple after temple after temple spread across the valley floor. Once, thousands of people lived here. Today, not one person does. The temples still stand. The palace walls still rise. But the streets are silent, and the doorways are empty, and the whole vast place feels as though everyone simply walked out of it one day and never, ever came back. And then there is the sign. At the entrance to the ruins stands an official board, put there by the government body that protects India's ancient monuments. And on that board is a warning. It tells visitors, quite plainly, that entering the area between sunset and sunrise is forbidden. A government sign on a national monument that reads almost like an official admission that something here comes out at night. People come from all over India just to read it, and almost no one wants to test it. To understand the fear, you have to go back to when Bhangarh was alive. It was built by a Rajput king as a beautiful and prosperous town, full of merchants and soldiers and priests, watered by the hills, protected by its walls. For a time, it thrived, and then, depending on which story you believe, one of two terrible curses fell upon it. And the people of the region will tell you both. The first story is about a holy man, a hermit, an ascetic, who lived and meditated on that land long before the town was built. When the king wished to build his city there, the holy man agreed, but on one strict condition. No building, he said, may ever be tall enough to cast its shadow over my home. For a while, the rule was kept. But then a later ruler built a grand palace, higher than the rest. And one evening, its long shadow reached out across the ground and touched the holy man's retreat. And the ascetic, betrayed, cursed the entire city to fall into ruin and never to be lived in again. The second story is darker, and it is the one most people tell. They say there was a princess of Bhangarh named Ratnavati, famous across the region for her beauty. And they say a sorcerer, a master of black magic, fell obsessively in love with her. Knowing she would never choose him, he enchanted a perfumed oil, so that whoever touched it would fall helplessly under his spell, and he had it sent to her. But the princess was clever. She saw the magic in it, and she poured the cursed oil out onto the ground, onto a great boulder. And the enchanted stone, they say, rolled by itself, and crushed the sorcerer flat beneath it. And as he died, he laid a curse of his own upon the whole city, that it would be destroyed, that everyone in it would die, and that their souls would never find peace or be reborn. And whichever curse you choose to believe, this much is simply true. The city fell. Some years later, a great famine struck the region, and war swept back and forth across it, and Bhangarh emptied out. The people left or died, and the town was never rebuilt. It was abandoned to the hills, and the wind, and the slow work of ruin. And it has stood exactly like that, empty, for hundreds of years. A whole city, frozen, at the moment its life stopped. Walk through it today, in the daylight, and it is beautiful and deeply sad. Grand gateways open onto empty courtyards. A long ruined market street runs through the middle, where the shops are now just rows of hollow stone arches. Temples sit perfect and silent. Monkeys move across the fallen walls. And above it all, on the hill, the shell of the great palace looks down over the whole dead valley. It is one of the most atmospheric places in all of India. And then the sun begins to go down, because that is when the stories start. Visitors and locals and paranormal investigators who have spent time there report the same handful of things again and again. A feeling of being watched from the empty windows. Footsteps in courtyards where no one is walking. The sudden, unexplained smell of perfume or incense drifting through the ruins. And sounds, voices, music, and, most often of all, the distant crying of a woman somewhere among the stones. And so, when the light fails, everyone leaves. The guards clear the ruins. The gates are shut, and the local people, who have lived beside this place their whole lives, will not go in after dark for any reason at all. There are stories, of course, of those who tried, of people who slipped in at night on a dare, or to prove the legend false. And in the stories, at least, some of them were never seen again. Whether that is true, or only fear given the shape of a tale, the result is the same. At night, Bhangarh belongs to no one living. Why does this one story hold on so tightly, when so many old ruins are simply old ruins? Perhaps it is the double curse, the sense of a place condemned twice over. Perhaps it is the sheer size of it, a whole city struck dead at once. But mostly it is that sign, that cold, official, government warning at the gate. In a world of ghost stories told in whispers, here is one apparently taken seriously enough to be written into the rules. And that changes how it feels to stand there as the shadows grow long. The honest view is not complicated. Famine and war emptied Bhangarh, as they emptied 1,000 other towns that no one calls haunted. The curses are folklore, grown over the centuries the way moss grows over stone. And the night ban, in truth, has practical reasons too. But knowing all of that does not help you much when you are standing in that ruined market street, and the sun is dropping behind the hills, and you become very aware that you would not, under any circumstances, want to still be here when it is dark. That is Bhangarh, a whole beautiful city, cursed in story, emptied by history, and locked away by its own country every single evening at sunset. Perhaps it is only stone and legend and the ordinary sadness of a place where the life ran out. Or perhaps a curse spoken in rage over a crushed and dying body still holds in the long shadows of the Aravalli Hills. We will let you sit with that one. This has been The Dark Hearth. Thank you for watching, and we will see you at the fire.